BarrioLoveOldies.com. Órale.
Hey everyone, what is up? It is I, of course, your girl, Miss Crystal Marie from Barrio Love Oldies, and you're tuning in to the Barrio Love Oldie podcast, episode 4. Today is Sunday, and we're on a 3-day weekend. It is Memorial Weekend, and, I didn't want to start this episode without first and foremost saying that for all our Barrio Love Oldie family that has served in the military, thank you so much for your service. And if you are remembering somebody that you lost that served in the military, I want you to know that our hearts and our prayers are with you. I like these 3-day weekends because it allows us to spend time with our loved ones and get a lot of rest or get a lot of work done. In my case, it's been get a lot of work done. But I hope that wherever you find yourself listening to this, that you find yourself blessed. And most importantly, that regardless of what you're doing on this 3-day weekend, that, if you're spending it with family or if you're spending it solo, that's okay too. I always say there's always beauty in solitude. But really quick, I also wanted to just mention, if you want to be a feature on one of our upcoming episodes, feel free to DM us on the Barrio Love Oldie podcast Instagram page or email us at barrioloveoldiesofficial@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you and connect with you. And, I also want to say thank you guys so much for your continuous love and support. We truly do feel it, and we're just amazed at all the love that we've been getting. And, one of the things that I always say is the purpose of this podcast is not only to inspire, but to also educate. So I hope that, by you tuning in and listening, that you're able to get something from these episodes. Also, if you're tuning in on YouTube, don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. And if you're tuning in on Spotify, be sure to follow us for all our upcoming episodes. With that being said, let's go ahead and go into our sponsor commercial.
Pinta Estilo invites you to their first annual prison art exhibit going down Saturday, June 15th at Mr. Rosewood's Family Restaurant, located at 10640 Rosecrans Avenue in Norwalk, Califas. Check it. If you have a loved one or know someone who's incarcerated and is an artist, get their artwork submitted at pintastilo.com. And we're also gathering jackets, gloves, and beanies for the kids, with 3 original Pinta Estilo art pieces being raffled off. Pinta Estilo prison art exhibit is free to the public, and the first 100 attendees gonna get some free grub. That's right. Vino Ruca, Chicana 62, Nay, Licha, Bree, and Shelly Boo will be bumping them vinyl rolas for you all day long. Myself, Angel Baby, and Miss Crystal Marie, we're gonna be your host for the day, Baby Bubba. Show! For full info and vendors, hit pintastilo.com or hit them up on Instagram, TikTok, any one of their social media, or call 626-316-4000. Special invite to all you car clubs and solo riders. Show!
All right. So that's Pinta Estilo's first annual art exhibit, which is right around the corner, and I'm super excited. Myself and Angel Baby will be there hosting the event. So if you are not doing anything on June 15th, be sure to stop by and say hello. But also really quick, wanted to throw in a plug-in. If you are a small business or you want to promote yourself or anything like that, be sure to hit up our website, www.barrioloveoldies.com. That's www.barrioloveoldies.com for sponsorship information. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into today's episode with none other than the Homeboy Mad from Raza del Sol. Okay, so we are back to episode 4 with none other than the one and only Homeboy Mad. Thank you so much for being with me today on this episode. I truly appreciate. Thank you so much. It really means a lot that you even considered doing this interview. It's an honor to have you on our podcast, and I'm excited for this interview.
Well, I really appreciate it, and you being too nice, I really appreciate you as well, likewise, for hitting me up and thinking of me. I appreciate that.
Yes, of course. And just so you listeners have a little background. I met Mad at I was co-hosting a radio show in the city of Davis in NorCal, and we ended up having the Jack Moves, to go and do a live show at the studio.
That's right.
And that's where we met, right? You were there to experience that, right?
Yeah, I was there. I think that was Casper's get down, because he has a radio program, I believe, every Friday at 3 p.m. out there in the Sacra area at Davis. And I don't know who hit me up. He might have hit me up. It might have been the Jack Moves. But it was a sheer pleasure meeting you.
Yes, and then so we met. We got to, what else? We got to go out to eat with them, remember? Like, we went to go have pizza, and we just got to hang out. So it was a good time.
Right. Yeah, that was cool. I ended up, it was kind of funny, because when we were eating, that pizza was good. No joke, And for whatever reason, the number to our table was 45.
Oh, I remember that. Did you end up taking the little number?
Yeah, I still got it too. I had him sign it. It was cool too, because it says you got a sweet tooth. So I was like, okay. It's meant to be,
That was meant to be for sure. Yeah, so it was a good time. So that's how we got connected. And so let's go ahead and get into the interview. Where are you from? Where were you born? And where were you raised?
I'm from Eastside San Juan. I've been there all my life. Third generation Chicano. My mom worked in the fields. My dad worked in the fields. My grandparents worked in the fields. My grandpa came to Boros sometime in the 50s as a child. He was just a kid, like he was only about 9 years old or so, maybe 12 years old, somewhere around there, really young. He came here by himself to pick in the fields, and he's still out there in Bordos. For those that don't know, Bordos is a really small farm town next to Visalia, in the 559 area. That's where my family's from. I got all my family over there. I got generations over there.
Wow.
And my mom and my dad moved to San Juan in the late 70s, early 80s. There was a big boom of jobs, Silicon Valley boom. But at that time, you could just come in, no education, no nothing. And as long as you had a good, hard-working ethic, you could get a good pilot at the assembly line. You know what I'm saying? Where they would be going through the chipboards and stuff like that. And so that's where my mom and my dad was working. And my dad always seen, I guess he always seen like, I came into this country for better. I kind of feel like the fields ain't what it is, and my mom was trying to escape the life of fields, because she was working in the fields since she was a girl. Since she didn't complete middle school, she didn't go to high school, she was working in the fields, and the whole time, and so she was trying to get away from Bordos, and so San Juan just became that opportunity, and then I came about. You know what I mean?
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I got two little brothers. Shout out to my little brother Anthony. He's out there in Nueva York right now. He's doing real big in the photography, doing photography for all like the major clothing designer brands. And then my brother Nestor, he's a veteran Marine, and he just got married. He just proposed congratulations, carnal, you know what I'm saying? And I'm right there with you, you know what I'm saying? Congratulations with you and your old lady and your journey, you know?
Nice. Yes, definitely. Congratulations. Are you excited about the wedding?
Yeah, you know what? It's about time. He was a late bloomer, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, the good thing is that, he has a plan. He's going to have a family soon. And I think that's always a beautiful thing, right? Like, regardless if you're a late bloomer or an early bloomer, marriage is a beautiful thing. So that's awesome.
And he did it right. He has, like, his stuff together. And, I'm sure he's going to be a great provider and a great man to his wife. You know what I'm saying? So he's doing things the right way, you know?
That's awesome. And what, growing up with your siblings and your home, what was your environment like growing up?
Yeah, well, I grew up in a little neighborhood called Pensacola. So Pensacola is Pensacola Projects. It's like a 2-3 block project. They ain't like the projects in New York or anything like that. It's completely different. But they are government housing projects right there on the outskirts of the more older barrio, which is Palmas. But right there off of King and Story, that's where I grew up. So I not only cruised on King and Story, you know what I'm saying? I went and got my groceries there, washed my clothes at the laundromat there, pulled girls there, got in a fight there, gang bang, tag, everything. You name it, it was right there on King and Story. Wow. That was definitely home to me. So, but my neighborhood was a little different because I grew up in Pensacola, and Pensacola's always been a predominantly black neighborhood. In San Juan, that's actually kind of a rarity because there's not too much black people in San Juan. It's mostly Raza, and we do have a lot of Vietnamese, but it's mostly Raza. So Pensacola's been like the only real surviving black neighborhood in San Juan. And so I kind of have a little bit different experience than a lot of other Chicanos and Raza, I think, in my city. You know what I mean? But I grew up right there in Pensacola. It's home to me for sure. Not too much of us, made it out. You know what I'm saying? There's a few of us that are doing good right now. You know what I'm saying? Like shout out to my homeboy Irving. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my homeboy Chino Boy. He's in another neighborhood now, but shout out to him. Matter of fact, I got to give a big shout out to him because he manifested this. Me and him, we were putting our heads together talking about podcasts, and all of a sudden 3 people hit me up about podcasts like right after. So it must be
wow.
Shout out my homeboy Vic. I seen him at Cinco de Mayo. I haven't seen him in years. And then R.I.P. to my homeboy Jens. You know what I'm saying? He passed away some years back. Wow. I grew up right there in Pensacola. It's a cool little neighborhood, very diverse. So I grew up with a lot of Usos and blacks, Vietnamese, Raza, Chicanos, Mexicanos, Nicaraguenses, a lot of Nicaraguenses, but a small little neighborhood. I'm Chicano to the bone, but my estilo is a little different compared to others right there out of East Side, right there, For
sure. Yeah. And what was your environment like in your home? Like, what was it like growing up in your home?
Yeah, in my home, I think my mom had to raise us on her own pretty early on. 6th grade, I think, and when she had to be kind of basically mom and dad. So, but because of that, I think that I took advantage of that. You know what I'm saying? My mom, she was already, she already had left work. By the time it was time to get up and go to school, and by the time she came back, she only had time to make dinner and watch her novela and her little panecito and coffee, and that was pretty much it. But I was just out there in the streets. I think that like many of us, I don't think that the streets were meant for me per se. It was just due to the conditions in my home, in my neighborhood, and stuff like that. You know, that I just felt vulnerable to it. You know what I'm saying? And you know, my neighborhood basically was like my second family. You know,
Yeah.
it was pretty tough for sure. You know, and I think growing up in any neighborhood, you know, you're always getting hit up. You know,
Sure.
then you got to start hitting up others, and then you got the cops to worry about. The cops are always messing with you and you know harassing you and beating you and all types of things. So it was definitely tough growing up. You know, as far as the oldies is concerned, you know, right there, Eastside Sanjo is definitely part of the cultura. You know what I'm saying? You know, if they weren't like bumping X-Rated and Tupac, it was definitely oldies, and it was a different time. You know, it was like back
What kind of
then. You
oldies
know,
were being bumped at that time?
I would say that you know, during that time, you know, we had the radio, right, and it was back then when we didn't have all the technology we had now. And, you know, people were still listening to CDs and records and tapes and cassettes and stuff. But everyone tuned in on the radio. So even if you weren't really like an oldie head, you know, everyone tapped in on Sunday night oldies. You made your deditas and, you had homies that were behind the walls out there in the county. You could, send them shout outs, you know, if you were doing time, you know, your old lady could give you a shout out or something like that. A little dedica, she could tell you how she feels. You know, you could likewise do the same, send a little dedica to your old lady or someone that you were interested in or something like that. You know, it was definitely part of the cultura. Everybody did that. You know what I'm saying? And the big all these concerts at the Shark Tank, you know, right there in downtown Sanjo, everybody would go. It would be thick, you know.
That's
It was
true.
definitely part of the cultura, but it wasn't, you know, rare soul or nothing like that, you know.
Right.
Definitely the Common, Seaside Story, you know, Seaside Story, Sunday Night Oldies, the Brentwoods, and, you know, the James Browns and all of that, you know what I'm saying? Rosie
Right.
and the Originals, all the classics, you know?
So, did you grow up, like, what about in your home? Like, did you listen, like, to oldies in your house? Like, did your mom listen to oldies? Or was it just, like, when you'd go hang out with your friends, that's the music that they were listening to?
Yeah. A little bit of a mixed bag, you know. By the time I was growing up, you know, my mom was really into church, so she wasn't really. We didn't have too much music, but she really loved cumbia. In her younger days, you know, before she settled down, you know, freestyle all day, you know, oldies. You know, I still have a record, matter of fact, of GQ, I Do Love You, where my mom is telling my dad how she feels about him, and it's right there. There's a little dedica on the record, you know, so.
I do love you, but it's alright, alright. Oh.
How cute.
It's part of the cultura just as much as you know the chantes and cumbias and stuff like that are a part of our cultura. So is the oldies, you know what I'm saying? And that's the music that you heard when you went to family functions or you know you there was a funeral, a wedding, or what have you. It was always the oldies, or at least the oldies was in the mix. You know what I mean?
You just were raised, like, with oldies around you? Or, like, was
Yeah,
there...
I think it was just part of the get down because I was always tapped in Sunday night oldies or I was always tapped in after 10 o'clock. After 10 o'clock, they would play a little mix of oldies and, those romantic, in between the sheets kind of dirty songs, even sometimes, you know what I'm talking about? And,
Like we had no business listening to them. I'd be like, sometimes I'd be thinking like, man, like I can't believe I was singing that like in the 6th grade. Like I had no business singing that. You know what I mean?
But,
Yeah.
that was, I think it was just part of growing up,
Yeah.
in Eastside Sanjo. Eastside Sanjo's like definitely like historical for so many different reasons. So, as far back as I can remember, like that's all I wanted to be a cholo. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
oldies is
Came with
original
it.
gangster music. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
I just do in kindergarten and, in my neighborhood and walking to school and looking at the cholos all creased down. I just remember tripping out. I was like a 5th grader. I'm sorry, I was like in kindergarten. I would trip out on the 5th graders. They'll be over there with their old ladies and,
Yeah.
with their paños and creased up, creased down. Like, it was just kind of like cause, it was like the whole stilo and get down, like, obviously they were just 5th graders. They're just kids, but they look like grown ass men. You know what I mean? They look like, and the way they carry themselves with their old lady, it was like something of pride. You know what I mean?
Do you think that's what attracted you to that?
Music, those are the rolas that you dedicated to your old lady. You know what I'm saying? Those are the rolas that you dedicated to even like a homeboy verse, like, don't let nothing keep you down and things like that. You know what I'm saying? Smile now, cry later. All those different things. You know what I'm saying? We kind of, I think it's just part of the cultura to lift each other's spirits and then tell a woman how you feel. That's just part of it. You know what I mean?
So the question is, you would listen to it, but were you calling and making dedications?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
'Cause I'd be like, how come nobody wants to call in anymore? What's going on? Like back then, we'd be like,
you could just hop in someone's DM. Back in those days, it's like, it was kind of, I think it was like a little bit like, trying to be a player too. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
I'm gonna show her what's up, and I'm gonna pull her and dedicate this rola.
Man, I remember, over here in SoCal, they had our local, and I remember like I would literally like it'd be busy, and I'd like call again. I think I even had it like on speed dial. To try to call in and make it in. It's like now.
Like, you know what? It wasn't easy either. It wasn't like you just called in and they answered. So you had to like call in and then call in and call in and it would hang up on you. You have to call in again and then finally you made it. You know what I mean?
Determined to make your dedication, huh?
Yeah. And of course that shows a lot because, the ladies, they know what's up too because they're calling in too. So they know what it takes. So it means something. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It means something. You're putting in a lot of effort and just getting your musica out there on broadcast radio for everyone to hear. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It takes a lot. It takes a lot. It's a lot of effort. You know what I'm saying?
So those dedications were special.
Like today, I guess you could just post, right? You post and everybody will see it. But back then, we didn't have those resources, that access to technology. So it was a real big thing.
Right. So, okay, so I know that, you say like, you grew up listening to like, like radio oldies and stuff, but how did you get into the rare soul oldies? How did you like, at what age did you start like, oh, wait, there's another side of this?
I have kind of like a trippy way on how I got into it. It was, like I said, oldies was always part of the cultura, growing up. But as far as like rare oldies, that's like a whole other ball game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But myself, I actually, as a teenager, I got really into like underground hip hop, like Wu-Tang, Cypress Hill, Gangstar, Razkaz, all these different, Mobb Deep, all those different groups. I guess people would call it like East Coast.
Okay. Yeah.
But the music, right, it always had samples. And the samples that I always sort of gravitated to was either like the psychedelic records or the deep soul and soul records that people would sample. And so as a kid, I was already digging for records. And I used to work at the flea market with my dad during middle school, because that was like our way of, I guess that was his way of being a dad, because that was the only time I had with him. And on the weekends, I would work with him and make my little money. But, there'd always be records out there at the flea market. So I always, pick up records, dig for records. Sometimes people would just leave boxes out there. I'd take it home. I would go shopping at the Segunda for records. And, they used to have, Big Al's. It's not there no more. Big Al's records, and get records there. Street Light. But the heavier records, for me was like, Big Al's, the Segunda, the flea market. And so I was already working with the turntables and, looking for, because the whole game on sampling is like, you want to find obscure, records that don't nobody else have, so it was already a similar kind of get down. And I was doing that for a minute until, my best homie, R.I.P. Gents, he passed away. He committed suicide. But up until then, that's when I kind of gave up on that. And, cause I was like, obviously a lot to take in, cause we were living with each other. You know what I'm saying? He was my best homie. He just got out of Pelican Bay. He was doing good, just working and, just one day he ended up taking his own life. So that kind of like, I think it did impact me in a way.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
in a big way, and, but at the same time, I had, so like I said, Trippy, my story is probably going to be very, very different from other gente. So I had already began, dabbling with politics and, community activism. So I had an ex-old lady. She was Puerto Rican, and, her dad was a former political prisoner. He did like 10, 15 years in the pen for the Black Liberation Army. So for those that don't know, Black Liberation Army, that's when the government had shut down the Black Panthers, a lot of them went underground. And so they created this covert underground organization called the Black Liberation Army. And Curly Escamera is his name. He ended up doing time. But anyways, when I was when I was with my ex, he would always be around, and he would always talk politics and always have these like characters and figures that you would just see on the news or you would watch movies about and documentaries. I got to meet Yuri. Yuri was the Japanese woman who was the first to go to Malcolm X's care when they assassinated Malcolm X. So I got to meet a lot of people, a lot of gente. So that's when I started getting involved in organizing. And I ended up doing time. This is the last time I did time. I ended up doing time in 2006, Cinco de Mayo. We were doing an action against police brutality and immigrant rights. If for those out there that remember, 2006 was like the biggest Raza march in history. Matter of fact, it was probably the biggest. I would even dare to say it was as big or maybe even bigger than the recent George Floyd ones.
Wow.
So 2006, May 1st, they did a big marcha in San Juan all across the nation, and then we continued it to Cinco de Mayo. I was only homie. I was on probation. I violated. I was supposed to get off the next day, and I already knew the risk of being involved in community activism, politics, and stuff like that. Right. But it's all good. I took that, and I violated. I spent a summer vacation in the local facility, and I was able to find myself around real good gente. And they just told me, listen, man, if this is what you're about, then once you get out, this is what you're going to dedicate yourself to. So anyways, I completely went sober, got my GED. And when I got out, I remember organizing with these folks called Debug. Debug is an organization. It's a nonprofit organization. They do all the criminal justice reform bills that's been happening. We had to do something with that. Prisoners, human rights, police brutality, prison reform. The reason why, if for anyone that's listening, if you got loved ones that's coming home because of these laws are changing, it's because of the work that folks like Debug have been fighting for. So anyways, I'm trying to get through to this. So I was organizing with them, right? And then when I got out, I said, you know what? I'm going to go to Debug. So I went to Debug and I got invited to a show. And it was called the Block Show. And we also had a show called Sound Home Soul. And shout out to David Madrid. That was actually his show. And I was supposed to be a one-time guest talking about my experience, kind of like what I'm showing, relaying to everybody right now. But I ended up being a co-host, and so it was actually based, and this was broadcast radio. This was real radio. It was based out of like a community funded radio station, and so I did that for about 4 years. But anyways, it was David. David was already into the rare soul, so he introduced me to the rare soul, and it kind of like I tapped into it because I was already familiar with, rare and obscure records, soul records. And, and then eventually we ended up meeting a group of individuals, that were called, Soul Strivers. So, through, Patricio, shout out to the Cordovas, shout out to Patricio, I think they were at a point in time where a lot of people were giving them the shine. They kind of wanted to just, put them, share the collection with folks, on the radio or what have you, whatever avenue that they could get. And so they were spitting on the show, and they had these crazy records. You know what I mean? Like, and so I think at that point, that's when I really got into it. And of course, around that same time, we had Lee Fields and Mayor Hawthorne and all of that. And I ain't gonna lie, I'll tell you straight up, I had a vision. You know what I'm saying? I had a vision like Moses seen a burning bush. You know what I mean? And I said, hey, this right here is gonna blow up, eh? And everybody thought it was crazy. And I was like, listen. Because they were giving the homies a shine, right? And different folks out there. Like, listen, man, I'm gonna write an article for you, because at that point in time I was already involved with Street Globe magazine. I was writing, and just in the act of cardinalismo, I was just like, hey, listen, everybody's giving you the shine. I'm gonna show you love. I'm gonna write an article about what you guys are doing, but I'm gonna throw an event. And they're like, an event? What do you mean, eh? I'm gonna throw an event, and just like you're spinning your rolas right here on the radio, you're gonna spin them live in front of fucking people, eh? And and then they were like, I don't know, eh? Because this was 2009, so at this point in time, it's already 2009. There's new technology coming in. They have Serato and all these different digital formats. And the way society works, you know what I'm saying? Like, people want to get whatever's new. They ain't really looking into the past. They're not looking into these old dusty records. They're looking at MP3s and, Bluetooths and all this stuff, right? They're not worried about these records. And then when it comes to the oldies, they want the common oldies. They don't want the rare or the fine oldies. And then on top of that, the new generation was changing, especially in the Bay Area. A lot of the youngsters were getting influenced by the hyphy movement, and they kind of, in my opinion, they kind of forgot where they were from, and they forgot who they are. And so, I had this idea to have the Soleros Ball in 2009, where the homies could spin their collection. You know what I'm saying? We could be ourselves, just as we are, in the way we dress, the way we get down, the ramflas, you know what I mean? And let's just get down and spin these records, and I'll write an article. And then it just took off from there. It just like...
What year did you start the Soleros Ball Review?
2009.
I remember this was, of course, before I had met my husband, and I had seen it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And actually, as a matter of fact, my husband was just talking to me about it. He was like, do you remember when we first got together? And because he was living in Sacramento. And one of the first questions that I had asked him was like, have you been to one of those Solero Ball reviews? Because I was like, I had never seen anything like that done. Like, it's just like...
Yeah. It was
beautiful. I mean, if you haven't watched it yet, definitely go on YouTube, search it up, Soleros Ball Review. I mean, it's a beautiful event. Everybody's out there. Everyone's dressed down. It's just the vibe, right? Just the vibe is
yeah.
Man.
It was those gigs are off the hook, eh? It was nostalgic. It was like revolutionary, It was, I don't know why, I have no idea, because, out there in the UK, they've been doing rare soul gigs forever and a day with the Northern Soul scene, And
wow.
They might have been doing that in different genres or subgenres within vinyl collecting. But as far as the oldies is concerned, it just wasn't happening. I don't know why no one did it before. But when it did, it fucking changed people's minds. It blew people away. It changed the world.
Right.
Because a lot of people were already doing the rare soul CDs. They've been doing that. And then a lot of people were already getting hip to the skip on YouTube, putting their collection on there. And but a place, it was almost, what the Soleros Ball was like, a Comic-Con for collectors.
Right? Yeah. No, for real. I mean,
but
it's true.
It was like a Comic-Con. So now, now the homie that you've been buying the CDs over there at the car shows and the flea markets, now you get to meet them. And now collectors get to meet other collectors that they may have known through YouTube or trading or buying or eBay. And then everyone came dressed old school, proudly, you know what I mean? And so it just, and then next thing you know, I gotta give a shout out to Vinyl Richie. He's the one that hooked us up with Myron and E. And a lot of the new bands that were coming out, Reality Jones, and so then we started having the new bands and embracing the new bands that were coming out that were basically hip to the skip on the sound we desired as rare soul collectors, rare soul lovers, and all of that, and then that just pushed it even further. You know what I'm saying? Once we got people like Myron and me, the Jack Moves, the Reality Jones, all these different, there wasn't too many of them back then. Now there's like tons of bands coming out after Word every weekend, but back then you could count them with your hand, you know what I'm saying? There wasn't too many of them, but we embraced them, and it just, it got people going even crazier than they already were, and it just kept growing and growing and growing, and, now you see these gigs everywhere, but Soleros Ball for sure was the first, inspired a lot of gente, and shout out to everyone that came before us and came before me, because, rare soul collecting came way before I got involved. It's gonna be here way after me. I was the youngster. I was I'm 41 now. I was I was like 24, 25. All these collectors were older than me. They were already in their 30s and their 40s or 50s and stuff like that. I just think like, I came out the county, I was going to dedicate myself fully to positivity, to our raza, to the causa, and I gravitated toward the oldies, and that's just what it became. And, it's just been such a trip ever since, for sure. But that's how I got into it. I didn't. My collection wasn't like real thick until much later. I was definitely more so a student, but I was the driving force, just pushing it. But my own personal collection really didn't stack up until years later. I don't even know if I spun at any of the Soletos balls or anything like that. You know what I mean? But it was a trip to see, like, we just had our 15-year anniversary, and we didn't have any names on the flyers, and we didn't have no logos other than the Soletos ball, and that's how we used to do it, because back when we were doing it, there wasn't no schedule, or maybe at some point there might have been a schedule, but there wasn't, like, if you were firme and you were chocando y manos, and you came with respect and you had a little box, it's all good, eh? Gonna bring your little collection, eh? Let me see what you got. You know what I'm saying? And it was like that, because early on I had to stop putting I stopped putting the names, because certain people, they would get hurt if their name wasn't on it, and then other people, their egos would get too big, and that my thing is always like, this is not about individualism. This is about the collective. This is about carnalismo. This is about our raza, and no man or woman is bigger than the other. So, and that's how we did it for our 15 years. You know what I'm saying? We did the same thing, same tradition.
How was that experience? Like 15 years, like
it was pretty heavy. It was hard to do. I think I slept for a week. Shout out to the homie Duke of Soul, and Big Fern, and my homie Pop for helping me put it together. Also, shout out to Brown Sugar that opened her doors. Shout out to the flea market, Alice out there that opened her doors as well. The Lowrider Council, Peter Ortiz, Council Member Peter Ortiz. We did it 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I guess they would call it a weekender, but I don't feel comfortable using that term. We just threw it down. That's what we did. And we spun for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. On Friday, man, I don't know. There was like, I think the final count was 2,000 people. That little small area at the flea market. It was off the hook.
Yeah.
I know the post went viral. It's that thousands, like tens of thousands of views of the post that's on Instagram. And then it was pretty historic on the Sunday gig, because it was the first time in San Juan that they ever had a Cinco de Mayo parade right there on the east side, right there in the heart, King and Story. So that was like bigger than life itself. You know what I'm saying? For sure, just to be a part of that. I think that on Sunday we were probably not really like a main attraction, but it was just a blessing just to be a part of the larger Cinco de Mayo parade. Shout out to, again, Lowrider Council and Council Member Peter Ortiz for hooking it up. But yeah, it was definitely that was like an oxline dream right there, for sure. Yeah, that was bad.
Wow. So not only are you a vinyl collector, you do these events, you've been at Street Low, an editor for Street Low, but I also know that you're behind a dope band. You want to talk about that?
Oh, yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm a Gemini, so I always got my hands in something, and I'm doing 10 million things at once. I'm probably one of the only people I could be in 5 places at the same time.
Wow.
But most of all, it was because of my sobriety. So
Yeah.
once I decided to be sober, which I also have 15 years as well.
Congratulations.
Yeah, for sure. No, actually, well, no, it's more than 15 years. It's because I stopped drinking and smoking and everything in 2006. So it's definitely over 15 years. I can't remember at this point, but it's all of this, the whole movimiento, la movida, everything has helped me with my sobriety for sure, and just keeping my head all straight and taking all these ventures. But back to the music. I had already started noticing. I think it was through the Soleros Ball and other gigs, because in LA they started doing it real tough. Out there in Texas and San Antonio, they started doing it real tough. And I think that a lot of the labels, I don't want to call them major labels, but the more prominent indie labels like Big Crown, Coal Mine, Daptone, Timian, Numero Group, they started getting hit to the skip. And I started noticing that they were marketing to the Raza, or at least making records that we like. They would even use terms like Solero and stuff like that. And I was like, no, that's feed me. And I love all them people. Shout out to Leon from Big Crown and, Terry from Coal Mine. He's always taking care of me, you know what I'm saying? And, shout out to Daptone and Mikey Post out there, you know what I'm saying? All these folks. But I think it's important that us as Raza, that we need to be more than the consumers. We need to have a seat on the table. And I don't know if we've achieved that goal just yet, but we're still striving for that. And it's important that we're more than just consumers. You know what I'm saying? We need. It's important for us to not just be the band, but also the owners of the labels, or the masters of the publishing companies and stuff like that. The distribution companies. We need to get our foot in the door as well, especially if they say right now, they did a study where Raza, we have the 5th largest market in the world.
Wow.
We could basically be our own country if we really wanted to.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely, I would call it neglect, if we don't try to take part in the game. So that's when I came up with the idea with the Baby Cuffs and having my own label. And so I put a Chicano group together, and I was really intentional in calling the Baby Cuffs, spelling it Thee, in honor of the Midnighters, because I already knew off top if I called it the Baby Cuffs, the Raza would be able to connect and relate to that. In our first record, maybe I got a little too heavy, with the content, because it's a more of a political song, but already you understand because my political background. But I put a Mexican flag on the label, you know what I mean? And because again, I wanted the Raza to engage. I wanted the Raza to get inspired and be like, hey, I love these labels, but we need to have our own labels and our own band. You know what I'm saying? And I think we did our job, for sure. But we cut a few records with Timian, You're My Reason, and My Mama My Baby. My Mama My Baby did pretty good.
My baby, my baby, my baby, you drive me crazy when I talk to you on the phone, my baby, can you be my lady? Without you, I'm so alone, baby.
We sold about 2,000 copies. It was because Timian's based out of Europe, and they had Daptone do some distribution in the States. We sold about 2,045. So I think that was our biggest hit. The one that everybody keeps asking for is that Where Did Our Pride Go? I think I'm working on a new mix, like a Latin version of it. But yeah, it's a Chicano group. The members have changed over time, but overall, I think Joe Narvaez, he's always been a very strong member.
I'm not supposed to be a fool now. This I know. I just can't help myself, girl. I just can't let you go.
Reality Jones is our new falsetto. Used to be David Herrera out of Norwalk. Shout out to David. He just got his master's. He's going to be a teacher.
Wow,
And,
nice.
Yeah, but it was the idea was to create a soul group harmony, an actual group, because I noticed that even till this day, there's a lot of bands, but not too many groups. And what I mean groups is a vocal group, you know, where kind of like when we go to the oldies concerts, the vatos that we're paying for, they're not in the band, they're the vocal group. You know what I mean? And I think we need to take that back too. We're not there just yet. We still got a lot of work on, but that was my idea, is to create a vocal group. And that was the Baby Cups. And I put 3 or 4 vocals together, and we just got down, you know?
Yeah, where did you come up with the name The Baby Cups?
I always got my baby cup, you know? I'm always pretty stuff and always got baby cups. You know what I'm saying? And it for sure always leaves an impression, you know what I'm saying? Because not too many people put on their baby cups anymore. Maybe back in the 80s or 90s or something, but not too much people do that anymore. So it's I think that's just reflecting the stilo, you know what I'm saying? I always come sharp, you know what I mean? I try to dress sharp all the time, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You have, like how you said, your hand in many projects. Do you have anything coming up that you want to throw out there?
Oh man, I have, I'm always doing something. Well, I know, I'm working on something at the flea market, you know, something special, than what we've been doing. So, hopefully prayers, you know, that we get this, and so we'll be able to hook up the gente with what they need and what they want, you know. And I'm for sure looking forward to some more live shows. I'm always doing live shows at Mama Ken's in San Juan. And but as far as the music is concerned, like yeah, I got an entire catalog just ready to go. But I think that, you know, me, because I also do distribution and I help a lot of artists create their release plans and monetize their music and actually have full ownership and of their music and you know, get their music out there to the right people. Me doing this for so long, you know, I'm connected with a lot of people, so I'm always trying to get these records in the right places. You know, I think I just put you on my email list too.
Yes.
So my whole thing is like, you know, when I first got started, I used to do it a la brava. You know what I mean? Like, I was pretty happy with one record a year, and we'll see how it goes. And then next year I'll put out another one. It's not like there's all kinds of feria in this. You know what I mean? It's more of a passion. But so right now I'm just kind of whipping up where, you know, the entire release of the catalog has to be on point, you know, on specific days, you know, where the artists are getting the shine, where, you know, where it'll keep the people interested and hungry. Cause it's the records, it's not like CDs. Back in the days, you whip up a CD, you get your 1,000 CDs or 5,000 or whatever it is your order is. You get that back in like the same day, maybe, you know?
Right.
With the record, you know, it could take up to 4 months, up to 6 months sometimes, you know? During COVID, people were waiting up to 12 months. You know,
Wow. Yeah.
so it's definitely a different game. It's more expensive also. But I think that it's kind of like a baby. It takes 9 months for a baby to pop out, and babies are beautiful, and so is this music, right?
It
And
is.
so that's really my goal is now is just to solidify everything so that the catalog is released and it makes the right impression on the right people, and the artists also, they get something out of it too. You know what I'm saying? The exposure and appreciation and love that they deserve, because
Sure.
I mean, this music, to be honest with you, like, it's inspired by Rare Soul, but like, in all reality, all these Rare Soul groups and artists, they didn't get no love when they were coming out in the 60s and 70s. They maybe came out with 1 record, 2 records, because unless you were on Motown or Stax, then forget about it. You know what I mean? So they didn't really get too much love. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them moved on with their lives. They got married. They went to the military. They went to prison. They, all kinds. You name it, they've been through it. But it had nothing to, the music in itself has nothing to do with talent. But you probably just like me would argue that some of these Rare Soul records are better than the classics,
Of course. Yeah.
heavier than the classics, and I believe that. I truly do believe that. I think they were raw, whether it was how they expressed themselves. They didn't really care about satisfying a larger commercial market. They were just putting their whole hearts in, and some of them studios, they were budget studios, and that in itself created a character of its own. So the problem, the issue wasn't music and talent, because they had it. And so in this day and time, because everyone is actually appreciating this sound, and we have so much access to technology and the internet and all of that, like, I think that's what really the challenge is really to come up with the right promotion and marketing plan and release plan, so that artists and groups could get the love that they deserve, and the labels and producers could get the appreciation and the feria that they deserve to keep this going, because it's an economy, not just a music scene either. You know what I'm saying? And we need something. The Raza, there's too much of us. We got too much things going on, and it's like we still haven't had our time. You know what I mean? We haven't had our day, and I think that through oldies, because we could be the face, we don't have to change our names from, Ricardo Valenzuela to Richie Valens. I could still be a Jose Valle. You know what I'm saying? Joe Narvaez could still be a Joe Narvaez. He doesn't have to whitewash himself in order to make it in the industry. We could be the label owners. We could own our homes. We could put our kids through college. You know what I'm saying? I think that oldies in itself by accident could really be a great opportunity for equality and advancement as far as our Raza is concerned. You know what I mean? That's what I'm whipping up right now, is like just dropping it at the right time when it's ready. So I can't talk too much about it, but I think that in itself it'll
Says it all.
Yeah.
It says it all. And as a vinyl collector, I know you collect. You say you have a big collection. Out of all your records, what's your favorite one? Like your prized possession that you have?
Shit, what? It's a hard one. I'm like, what I am? I'm like those people that overpack. You know what I'm talking about?
What are they called? A hoarder? A record hoarder? Are you a record hoarder?
There you go. Yeah. So it's like, I love all of them. Yeah. I treat, you know what? I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I treat my records like my kids. I love all of them equally.
All right. But is there one that you like? But okay. But what's your favorite? Is there one that you tend to pull out a little more to play?
Man. Which one? One that always gets me going is Got to Get Through to UTSU Tornadoes.
I've tried so hard, baby, every minute, every day, to make you see that I need you in my own little way. But I'm so afraid, darling, that love is
Okay,
not your
okay,
game.
That one always gets me going, you know.
okay.
I don't know if I always play it though. You know, it's a little up tempo, so you got to play it at the right time, I guess. But that one always gets me going.
Nice.
Man, I got so many records. You know, one record that I do love. It's not a rare one. It's not a rare one. But it's the Hardtones' first record. That record was killer. You know,
Really?
they really did a masterful job on that record. That record was killer, and getting them their deal with Big Crown. You know, so so shout out to them youngsters. They recorded that in high school. Matter of fact, yeah, they were still in high school when they recorded that. You know, but that record for sure. That record is heavy. A heavy sound. It's slow and low. They don't really have no harmony in it, but it's real heavy. It's a heavy record, for sure. I don't know if I play that one too much though, you know, but every time I do or every time I hear it, it slaps me in the face.
So I have a question. Do you like more upbeat oldies or more like slow oldies?
I'm a deep soul guy, for sure.
Yeah.
I
The slower
deep
the
soul.
better.
Yeah, I like the deep soul. You know, the deep soul's kind of an interesting like genre because like I'm a harmony guy, but most deep soul records don't have no harmony in it, and I think that because deep soul is kind of like they got a soul band, but the lead singer comes from a blues background. Deep soul is like an interesting genre because, like I said, like they're really heavy records, so they're probably not for everybody. You know,
Yeah.
I would say probably the most popular one that's well known is "It's So Hard to Break a Habit."
Yeah.
That one has harmony in it, but I would say it kind of or like another real popular artist, like Phil Johnson.
Okay.
That would be another example. I don't think he doesn't always have harmonies in it, so that's a good example. But deep soul in itself, it's a soul band, but they're just playing real heavy.
Mhm.
You know, real heavy, and what it is I think they have blues singers, and they're just singing sort of from a blues perspective. And in most blues bands, the vato that's singing is also the guitarist, and there's no other vocalist. And so I think that's where deep soul lacks, is that there's not too many group harmonies, because I love them group harmonies, especially like places like the Bay Area has a lot of good groups. You know, East 14th Street Band and the San Francisco TKOs, and then in Philly you got a shitload of bands out there, groups, you know, group harmony groups where the group harmony is on point. But I tend to, my heart always tends to go to those really heavy records.
Me too.
You know what I mean? I'm not really sure why, but I really love those deep, soul heavy records, you know.
Yeah. And they're not for
Some people
everyone.
call them Tecato records. I mean, I ain't no Tecato, but they're just some heavy records, man.
No, yes, I agree.
So I think being from where I'm from too, I really love Bay Area records. You know, Bay Area has definitely its own sound.
Yeah.
It's very interesting too because a lot of the Bay Area records, although they were budget records, but they didn't sound like budget records.
Mm.
You know, most of the Bay Area records, they had really good studios. And I would say that they have like harmonies and strings that would rival any New York group. You know, because New York and Philly is known for their harmony. So that's where it all came from. You know, mostly the group Harmony came from New York and Philly. And but I would say the Bay Area, as far as the group Harmony and the strings, they could probably rival any New York or Philly group. The only thing that's different on the Bay Area sound is that the singers, they tend to come from like a gospel background. So they're like screaming and hollering, you know what I'm saying? Like from Jesse James, you know, all type of groups, you know, they tend to express themselves like they just came out of church or something, you know what I mean? The black church, you know, so I love those records too, because it's kind of like deep soul in a way, you know, because the way they're just expressing themselves so heavy, you know, but the music and the sound is just top tier, you know, soul, you know, for sure, off the hook. And not too many groups made it. The only group that made it really was, man, I can't think of them right now. Yeah, man, it'll hit me later, but not too many groups out of the Bay really made it. You know what I'm saying? They didn't. No group started hitting until like the music had already done changed. You know, you had Tower of Power and Santana, Malo, Azteca, and all that stuff, which was a totally different sound than what we're talking about. But there's a lot of good Bay Area records. You know what I'm saying? Group harmonies off the hook, strings are off the hook. Badass records out there.
Yeah. Well, my last question for you is, what advice, or do you have advice to give to our upcoming generation of soleros and soleras?
Yeah, what I would say is this: is don't collect or spend to get on a flyer or to be known. Collect or spend because of your love and passion for the music. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter if it's a $5 record. It don't matter if it's a $5,000 record. If you love that record and you have a connection to the rola, that's all that matters. You know, if your box ain't stacked up just yet, don't even worry about it. You're gonna get your time. You know what I'm saying? It's no different from the lowrider gang. You know, some vatos, they're building their lowrider for 10 years, 15 years, you know, 20 years, and then they'll pull it out once it's already said and done. Because at the end of the day, we come from a struggling raza. You know what I mean? We come from a working class raza. We're not made of money. You know what I'm saying? And so we really can't hold ourselves to a higher stature because the next vato has a little bit more feria in his pocket than the next one. And you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, you're going to get your time. You're going to get your shine. And at the end of the day, you're going to realize that the shine ain't even on the flyer or at the event or spinning at some bar or some club.
True.
You know, it's the way it makes you feel. You know what I'm saying? When you're there cruising, you know, on your day to work, you know, or taking your kids or, you know, or just driving in the hood or wherever you're going and you're listening to those rolas, that's what matters, you know what I'm saying? Or that rola that you dedicate to your old lady at the wedding and, you know, you're dancing and, you know, that's the song, that's what matters, you know what I'm saying? That rola that you dedicate at your best homie's funeral or something like that and he just passed away, that's what matters. It's our connection to the rola and what that rola means to us, you know what I'm saying? That's what really matters, and that's what we have to keep going. You know, that's what's important. You know, and shout out, I get the game from R.I.P. Tommy Siquero, and I want to send my prayers out to Polly Cardenas out there, Streetlow Magazine. He's in the hospital right now. Prayers are with you. I hope you heal soon, and I'm gonna see you soon. We're gonna be bumping these rolas, but that's where I get the game from, is from the older veteranos that, you know, came here before us and also instilled that carnalismo and instilled that cultura to keep it going. It's important for our culture and our kids and our next generation, you know?
So true.
Well, where can people find you? Like, are you on social media? I know you're on Instagram. Where can people find you if they want to know more about you or just connect with you?
Yeah, what do you call it? Raza del Sol, and that's SOUL, not SOL. Raza del Sol on Instagram or RazaDelSol.com. I got a record shop for any of the independent bands out there. Labels, if you just need a little push, if you get these records in the stores, you know, and you need a little support, hey, hit me up. You know, I've been known to do some great things for people and get them off and going, you know, and so it's been nothing but blessings. So hit me up, you know what I mean? So Raza del Sol on Instagram, RazaDelSol.com, and my email's RazaDelSol@gmail. So it's all the same thing.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much again for this interview, and for, you know, giving me the opportunity to be able to have you on this episode. I'm grateful. I'm excited for everything that you have planned and all the events that are going to come up and the baby cuss. And it's just, you truly are, you know, people say like there's influencers, but I feel like you are truly an influencer to this generation of new collectors, or even, just people that have been collecting. Cause I know that with these events that you plan, like the Solero Ball, it's piqued interest in a lot of people. I know it did to me, and, that's motivation, to continue to keep this culture alive. And
That's right.
Thank you for that. I thank you for that, for seeing the need, because it's a need, right? And not through music. I always say through music, we're able to unite. There's no color in music. There's no race in music. It just connects us all together. And you are definitely doing that. And I appreciate that. And I'm grateful for you for having that vision.
I appreciate you.
Yes, thank you. All right, guys. So that completes. Any last words before we complete today's episode?
No, just, I want to give a shout out to all my people out there, Solar Records out of LA, Oracion Records out of San Diego. Appreciate you. All the labels that's on the distro team, I appreciate all of you, all the artists, Adrian Carmine. Appreciate all of you for keeping it going, and appreciate the business, and we're looking forward to bigger and better things. You know what I mean? Appreciate all the raza out there tuned in, and all them solid individuals. You know who you are. I appreciate all of you, and que siga la movida.